we're gonna play one of my favorite games here. I want you to look at these two cameras. And no pressure, it's just for fun. Take a look at these two images. Which one of these is 3 times the cost of the other one? All right? Just keep that in mind. One of these is the camera that I shoot every single YouTube video on. It's got a $2,000 body with a $1,000 lens on it. And one of them is a PTZ camera. Do you have a guess? You can leave in the comments. You don't have to leave in the comments, but I want you to have a guess. Because like there are some tells here. Like you can look at these. If you showed these to me, I'd be able to tell you which one is which, but not by a factor of 3. Like it's not that much of a difference. You have your guesses? Okay, I'm gonna give it away by doing this. Whoop, whoop. You probably know which one the PTZ camera is now, but let me do one more thing. Oh. Hold on, wait, that's not it yet. We can keep going. Hold on, I gotta brighten this up when you zoom in. Look at that. Look how crisp that still is. Do you know why it's this crisp, zoomed in this far? Because it's not a digital zoom. This is a 5 times optical zoom inside the camera. We're punched this far in and we're still in 4K. I'll bring it back. All the way back. So yeah, the image on the left is my YouTube camera. It's the Lumix S5 II with the 18mm lens on it. And you can tell by a couple things. One, the image is a little bit more flat because we shoot things a little more flat. Also, you can see this is a little bit blurrier. You know, we got a larger sensor, we got a wider aperture. You're gonna get a little bit more background blur, but that's about it. The dynamic range, the exposure, the colors, the skin tones, the sharpness, just the overall general image quality on the Tail 2. That's what this video is about, by the way. This is the OBSBOT Tail 2. It's the first time I've used like a non-mirrorless camera, especially one a third the price of my camera, and still felt like it was mirrorless quality. Like this is about the same price as you'd get by getting a Sony camera that a lot of streamers get and adding a nice lens to it. But then you're also getting the PTZ motors in there and the zoom in there. So this is pretty nuts. I think I'm gonna shoot the rest of this video on this camera. Let me move it around. What do you think of that? How's that shot? Yeah, zoom that in a little bit. Look at this. This is actually where the camera is right here. That's how far away we are right now. And then just bring it back into here. We've gone over a bunch of PTZ cameras like this, even higher end PTZ cameras like the original Tail Air. They're fun, you can get more creative with them, but the problem I've had with them is when I put them side by side with my fancy Lumix cameras, when you switch back and forth, it's a little bit jarring because there is always gonna be a bit of a quality difference between them. Until now, apparently, because this looks phenomenal. Like looking at the Tail Air and the Tail 2 next to each other, they're not the same camera. And you can tell just by looking at the back of it, they're not meant to be the same camera either. The original Tail Air felt like a beefed up PTZ webcam, and they didn't want me to use the word webcam. They made that clear. It still felt like it was in that category. It was like it's the webcam on steroids. The Tail 2 feels like those giant, big old PTZ, professional PTZ cameras brought down into a much more affordable and manageable size. It feels much closer to the professional side than it does the webcam side. I mean, just right on the back, you have full-size HDMI, you have SDI, you have PoE, Ethernet with power over Ethernet built into it. It's 4K 60, and am I missing anything? Oh, and then also audio inputs. So the hardware has obviously gotten a big old hit of steroids, if I can say that in a sponsored video, but the features have also, like its use cases have gone up quite substantially. So while specs are always important, specs come second to uses, what a camera can do. Let's talk about what this camera can do, the features and how it should be used. And then we'll also go over some of the improved specs on it. The feature list of this camera, it doesn't quit. It's like a mile long. So I have picked my favorites. I might be a little biased at times, but I got favorite features. We're gonna go through those, and I've used those to put together 3 scenarios, 3 different situations where I feel like this camera would be pretty cool to use. Scenario number 1. A live event, something on a stage, a music performance, a presentation, a wedding, a sporting event, live event. This camera would be very cool to use. The tracking features have gotten even more advanced, and then combined with zoom functionality and more AI stuff, it can do things like tracking a singular person walking through a crowd. That's called only me mode. And if you lose visuals of that person and then continue on, it will find you again and continue tracking. Or you can track a whole group of people, like a band. You choose who you want it to track, and it zooms in and out, keeping those people in frame no matter where they are, no matter how far apart they are. You also have more options with the tracking speed now, which I messed around with for a while because it gets kind of nuts. You got 5 different speeds now, and they range from super lazy at the slow end to crazy at the fast end. OBSBOT has started giving some employees some creative liberties, and I'm here for it. But one of the things that makes this camera most useful is not just being able to connect to a Wi-Fi network or connect to a LAN network, connecting over Ethernet, but connecting multiple cameras together to use in tandem and switch on the fly. The ability to connect multiple cameras together and then control them through a mobile app on your phone wirelessly while you're walking around. Very cool. We just unplugged the camera to turn it off, and it just kept working because they're both on the same Wi-Fi. It doesn't take any extra setup. It just keeps working if they're on the same network. Scenario number 2, a little bit more in my backyard here. I think these are awesome podcasting cameras. I think PTZ cameras in general are awesome podcasting cameras. When you have a setup that you're at the same place every time, being able to use the zoom and movement to get 2 to 3 different angles per each camera. So maybe if I'm sitting next to someone, I could get a close-up on my face, a close-up of their face, and a wide of both of us. But also, one of the favorite features of this camera is the sensor itself. The lens will actually rotate to vertical, like physically rotate silently inside the housing. But if I let my imagination go a little buck wild here, you could, while one camera is being used pointing at a person who's talking, you could use one of the other unused cameras at that moment, turn it to vertical, and catch vertical footage of that person for short form content later. But I actually used PTZ cameras in a previous video to set up a whole podcast, and we managed to take 2 PTZ cameras, and get like 8 camera angles out of them. Like that scenario where it's a stationary camera, it's always gonna be a stationary camera. You're not running and gunning with this thing, though technically you can. It's got a battery built into it and internal recording, but we're not gonna do that. The ability to set preset zooms and preset angles and have it switch between them to look like you have 4 times more cameras than you actually have is not only really cool and powerful production, but I mean, saves you a lot of money. Like, look at this image right now. I just looked at some of the SD card footage from this that I shot earlier. This is cheaper than the cost of some of Sony's low-end cameras plus a lens. And it looks like this. And it also looks like this. Whoa, it keeps going. It went longer than I thought it would. And it also looks like this. There, that's all the way in. So the zoom's just really fun. Scenario 3, the bread and butter over here. My home field, live streaming. I got a pretty long list of features for streamers here. And now that it looks this good, like I think there are a lot of streamers that shouldn't get a mirrorless camera and should instead go with one of these. Not all of them, but I think it's a serious contender. First of all, I know a lot of you game in the dark. You don't like big old lights in your face. Let's look at the low light. Okay, this is the low light performance. And if you're not wowed by this, you need to know this is not what the image actually looks like. This is what the room actually looks like. There's like a rear light behind me, and that's the only light source here. So let's turn that back on so you can see what it does if it allows the camera to boost up the image. The camera's got a dual native ISO, which basically means it can digitally crank the brightness without adding a ton of noise. It's got a larger sensor for capturing more light, and it's got an AI image signal processor for AI denoising and things like that. I feel like low light tests are really like the litmus test for a lot of cameras. Like even if you don't use low light features, like if a camera looks good in the dark, it's going to look good in the light. I still can't believe like this shot right here, it actually looks like that. Let's turn this light back on. The autofocus is great on this. I'm sure you've noticed, or actually I bet you haven't. That's the sign of a good autofocus is you don't notice the autofocus, but they've been putting phase detect autofocus in the last batch of cameras, and it's great. The only time I do notice some focus hunting is when it's zoomed into like all the way in, all the way up to 5x. Let me zoom in for you so you can see it. I do see some of the wow. focus hunting there. You'll see it. Oh, there it was. There was one. And I don't know if this is pre-production firmware, something they're planning on fixing, but because it's only really happening at the 5X, like it's not even happening right now because I'm at 4.7. We go all the way into 5X, we get a little bit of that. Like, let me move around a little bit. See, I'm still having a hard time getting it to do it. Anyway, I have noticed this at the 5X zoom mark, and I don't want to brush past it and sugarcoat this video. Only seen it happen all the way in at 5X. I feel like it's something they could fix with software. It seems like a little software bug. I'm still at 2.9X, and I haven't seen any focus hunting here. But back to the rotating camera module that I mentioned earlier. One of the ways I'm going to use this at my setup is I'm going to have it above my monitor, kind of hanging over and pointing straight down. The problem with other PTZ cameras, in fact, let me grab one. Problem with PTZ cameras is if you want to point it like straight down, you got to kind of lean it forward. And so it doesn't just, you know, point at its own booty there. Booty? That's not a booty, a base. But if it's leaning forward, if it tries to track to the side, it gets crooked. I actually did this on the original Tail Air video. We had a shot where I accidentally leaned it forward a little bit. When it tracked me, it started getting crooked. The Tail 2 has a built-in horizon lock, or like a horizontal line lock. So you can lean it forward if you have to, and then as it tracks, it's gonna keep that sensor perfectly level. Kind of a neat feature. You can also just fine tune your roll with this button here. Look at that. There we go. Do a barrel roll. I'm gonna scam call again. I get like 20 of those a day. What's happening? Preset positions are always a great way to use these on streams. So you have one preset position while you're sitting at your desk gaming, and then when you stand up to move elsewhere, you have a second preset that aims up, but then also starts to track you. Presets are super easy to set up, and you can even control how quickly it shifts between them as you switch. You can even use hand gestures on this one to zoom, even if you're far away. Check this out. There we go. You give it a little L, zooms all the way out, and then there we go. I can't believe it. I didn't think it would work in front of the light. But I mean, there's an endless list of features. We could make this video really long if we wanted. I don't want to, but things like, you know, 4K 60, either internal recording or over HDMI. You got 1080p 120 if you want to do some slow-mo stuff. A wild amount of connectivity like RTMP, RTSP, NDI, SDI. I just said I wasn't going to make this a super long video, so we're going to end it there. What do you think of the quality of this camera, what you're seeing right here? I mean, do you feel like I do, like it feels like a PTZ camera that's finally the perfect balance of affordability, but also not sacrificing quality? I'm actually going to go mount this above my monitor right now. I don't know why. I'm leaving for Japan on Monday, so I'm not gonna be able to use it till I get back, but it'd be cool to have it there. So you'll see this in the next stream. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful. Thank you again, OBSBOT, for letting me check this thing out and sponsoring this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Happy streaming. Hit the like button if you haven't yet. Subscribe if you want to see more.